Hey, listen, as far as the deadline is concerned, and you don't know what my thoughts are on it, it's kind of because I'm caught in between. I didn't really express anything in the times that we chatted via text last night or all day yesterday as this thing was unfolding. And I'm caught in between because you look at a move like John Duran and you say, okay, that's a monster move. That's a big move. That's one that this team needed, and you applaud that. And then you look at a move like Harrison Bader and you go, okay, it's an upgrade, it's an improvement, but there needs to be something else, right? I mean, something else has to come with that. And then there was never something else. Now, to be fair, in the outfield market, there really wasn't much else that happened. When you look at the names that got moved and the ones that didn't, it became evidently apparent that the only way that the Phillies were going to be able to get a bigger name outfield bat was if they were willing to trade Andrew Painter, which they were not willing to do. And so you sit there and go, okay, I understand that. I'm with them on that. But at the same time, you come away from the deadline feeling that the lineup is just still one bat short. And it's kind of like the way we felt coming into the season when we looked at the bullpen, right? And we said that bullpen looks one arm short, and boy, the bullpen was bad for the first half of the season. So it's kind of hard to go into this stretch drive now with the lineup that they're going to have and not think that there could be one more bat there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's all entirely fair. And Jeff Kerr of CBS, who covers the Phillies, and he's down there with you most nights, I know. He had a tweet this morning that I kind of want to read because what he says I understand, and to some degree I agree with it. However, I'm going to push back a little bit here. He says, give the Phillies a trade deadline of B+. Not trading any of the top three prospects for Duran was massive. I'm going to go Duran because I heard him say it, and I'm going to honor that pronunciation for now. Especially since the front office is high on all three of them. They weren't getting a big bat in the outfield because there weren't any big bats in the outfield to get. Bottom of the order is better and outfield is better. Bullpen is massively improved. They still have Painter, Miller, Crawford, Escobar in the farm system too. Painter and Crawford will be helping this team during the stretch run. A lot of roster transactions are coming today. Stay tuned. Okay. If I look at the 48 hours that unfolded leading up to the deadline, could you talk me into giving the Phillies a B or a B+? Yeah, you probably could. But where I push back on that concept or that evaluation is that it all ties into this past offseason where you can sit here and say, well, no big bat was traded yesterday. So how can you criticize the Phillies for failing to get a big bat? But you brought this lineup that was deeply flawed and clearly not good enough into this season. And when you do that, it's incumbent upon you as a front office to do more to rectify that. And look, I know that they started to hit some home runs in the month of July and that there are some positive signals here. And I'm not saying that this is a disastrous offense, but like you're going to go into October assuming that you get there and you're going to have in the middle of your order Nick Castellanos, Alec Boehm. Like this is what you're going to rely on. And maybe even Harrison Bader, who, is having a nice little year and all, but he's just a guy. But in this lineup, I think it speaks volumes to what the Phillies lineup has been. Like you look at his numbers and where they slide into this lineup, and he becomes their like third or fourth most productive hitter. So I can go for the fact that there was no big bat out there to get, but when you whiff the way that you did last offseason and fail to address the needs in past offseason, I don't want to hear, oh, sorry, there was just nothing we could do at the deadline. It wasn't out there for us. Okay, well, sometime in the last calendar year, you should have fixed it. You didn't. And I for that reason, I think that they deserve criticism for it.
Oh, I will never go against that idea. I mean, they deserved criticism for what happened last offseason. And as I've said in the past, I think that the criticism comes from even above Dave Dombrowski, and on all honesty, because I feel like the last offseason, there was a limit to what he could buy. Like, I feel like there was a limit on the amount of money that he could spend and the kind of contracts that he could go out and get. And he was forced to take some chances on guys that didn't pan out. Right. And that's just the way it is, and that was why when I asked, Middleton that question, when we had the availability, I said, do you ever look back and think that, man, we should have done something different in the offseason? And he says, yeah, all the time. He says, but he says, you never know. He's like, this guy could have a bad year and this guy got bad. And he gave like, the expected answer. But I got to imagine that he's got to sit there and say, man, if we would have just been willing to give a guy 2 to 3 years as opposed to just a 1-year deal, we might not be in the situation that we're in. Right. And so that's kind of where they are. Are they a better team today than they were on Saturday? Yeah. Are they still a World Series contender in the National League? Yeah. Do I think that they're going to get there? No. Like, that's really what it is. Like, nothing's changed. Like, I don't, as crazy as this is my biggest takeaway from the deadline, Bob. As crazy as the deadline was, right? And there were a lot of trades and teams doing a lot of crazy things. We'll get into the San Diego Padres in a minute. But I came away from the deadline saying, I still think it's the same. It's the same as it was before the deadline. Like, teams address things, but whatever. I don't think anybody jumped over anybody and said, "Oh, wow, this team is now the favorite." I didn't see it happen. It didn't come to fruition in either league. So it's interesting that we're still in the same spot we were before the deadline began.